Welcome to this webcast, Songs for Wintertide II. I'm Charlie Backfish, and I host WUSB's Sunday Street program and also produce the Sunday Street series at the Long Island Museum. Due to the pandemic, we've suspended our live shows, but we're producing occasional webcasts to keep the music alive. Tonight, we're presenting songs for the winter and holiday season with a dozen artists or groups participating and sharing their music with us. You may see performers you already know, but we hope you'll also discover some artists who are new to you as well. I'll be introducing them, but I ask you to consider supporting these artists who have basically lost most of their income due to the pandemic. You can do that by purchasing their CDs and other merchandise, as well as making a direct donation. After each performance, we'll share artist contact information on the screen. You'll also see some paintings and photographs from the museum's collection before each performance. Tonight's webcast takes on an international flavor with several artists from outside of the United States. We begin Songs for Wintertide II with a trio from upstate New York, consisting of an alt-country singer-fiddler, a bassist ukulele player who's played everything from swing to noise rock, and a Norwegian power pop vocalist. Sarah Milanovic, Daria Grace, and Vibeke Saugestad call themselves the Wynotte Sisters. Here they play two songs from their holiday album, Christmas Spirits.
Going home for Christmas in suburbia, where the sodium lights are golden in the rain. On the plastic and the chrome of the people going home, they will jingle jangle by electric candlelight, Christmas time. Celebrate a shoestring Saturnalia with a cracker or two and some cheap old cherry wine. Cheap old wine about a quid. We'll have cotton wool for snow. You can let that turkey go. I'm not killing over Christmas in suburbia anytime. Party round at my place after closing time. You can bring your own, there's none at home. I drank it all, you might have known. All the stars are shining in suburbia as you wake up in a room that's not your own. There's an angel in a bed, and you wonder what you said. Then you realize it's Christmas in suburbia, Christmas time. There's an angel in the bed, and you wonder what you said. Then you realize it's Christmas. You realize it's Christmas. You realize it's Christmas in suburbia, Christmas time. practice.
All right.
All right.
Yep.
I'm gonna lasso Santa Claus, and I know just why, because I'm gonna pull, pull, pull on his beard, pull, pull to see if it's real. I'm gonna tick, tick, tickle him on the tummy, because he laughs so funny. He's so jolly and so fine when it comes around Christmas time. I'm gonna lasso Santa Claus, and the reason is because I know a boy and girl he never goes to see. He never brings some toys like he does to me. I'm gonna pop, pop Santa Claus with a water pistol gun. Bang, bang, then I'll take his bags of toys and run and bring him all the kids that don't have none. I'm gonna lasso Santa Claus, and I know just why, because I'm gonna pull, pull, pull on his beard, pull, pull to see if it's real. I'm gonna tick, tick, tickle him on the tummy, because he laughs so funny. He's so jolly and so fine when he comes around Christmas time. I'm gonna lasso Santa Claus, and the reason is because I know a boy and girl he never goes to see. He never brings some toys like he does to me. I'm gonna pop, pop Santa Claus with a water pistol gun. Squirt, squirt, then I'll take his bags of toys and run and bring him all the kids that don't have none. Then I'll take his bags of toys and run and bring him all the kids that don't have none.
We moved from New York to England for our next three artists. Brooks Williams, a bluesman from Georgia and Massachusetts, now makes his home in Cambridge, England. We've had the pleasure of presenting Brooks many times in the Sunday Street series and look forward to his return when we resume live shows. His latest album is a beautiful collection of instrumentals, Ghost Owl, in which he's joined by violinist Aaron Catlow. Brooks shares two songs for the season with us in this webcast.
This song is called Sweet Greens and Blues, and I learned it from the repertoire of the great Shirley Collins. If we don't make it this year, see what next year will bring. Seasons go turning from winter to spring. The stars in their courses say you win or you lose. Can you tell what they're saying about sweet greens and blues? We won't live in a mansion with acres of land. These neat little houses are just as we planned. We could live in a basement and we won't mind the view, just as long as we're living these sweet greens and children are growing, they play around the door. One is just 3 years, and the other turned 4. They plague us with questions and with mud on their shoes, but they often remind us of sweet creams and blues. Now the winter is coming, with leaves turning brown. They drift through the streets of this dusty old town. Young people go walking in ones and in twos. Can you tell they're all dreaming of sweet greens and blues? Can you tell they're all dreaming sweet greens and blues? Can you tell they're all dreaming sweet greens and blues? Here's a classic tune, Winter Wonderland. Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? In the lane, snow is glistening. It's a beautiful sight, we're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland. Gone away is the bluebird, here to stay is a new bird. He sings a love song as we go along, walking in a winter wonderland. In the meadow we can build a snowman, then pretend that he is Parson Brown. He'll say, are you married? We'll say, no, man, but you can do the job when you're in town. Later on, we'll conspire as we dream by the fire to face unafraid the plans we have made, walking in a winter wonderland. Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? In the lane, snow is glistening. It's a beautiful sight, we're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland. Walking
Jez Lowe is from the northeast of England and has appeared in the Sunday Street series with his band The Bad Pennies, as well as a solo performer. We have also hosted Jez in performance with James Keelahan and Archie Fisher. Jez, along with The Bad Pennies, released a seasonal album in 2015. He tells me that another album of his songs for the holiday season will appear next year. These two songs played by Jez in this webcast are likely to be on that record.
There's a very popular Christmas carol called Silent Night, which I'm sure most of you will be aware of. And there's an old legend concerning the writing of that Christmas carol. The story goes that back in the midst of time, up in the Alpine region of Austria or Switzerland, there was a community they were about to celebrate their Christmas event in the local church, and it turns out that the church organ wouldn't work. The bellows had been eaten by a mouse. And calamity, what were they going to do? At the last minute, the local schoolmaster turned up with his guitar, played a little tune that he'd written on the guitar. The story goes that the local clergyman wrote some words for it, and the Christmas Eve celebrations were saved by this little song which became known as Silent Night. And this is the same story, the same legend, but this time looked at from the point of view of someone else who was very much involved in that situation that night. And the song's called Almost a Silent Night. It wasn't my big ears or my long wriggly tail that makes all the ladies scream and wail. It wasn't my bright eyes or twitching whiskers. It's 'cause of my sharp little teeth. I'm known as the mouse that ate Christmas. It was almost a silent night, almost a silent night. That music box was busted with tiny little bites. When the preacher pumped the pedals, he said, "This ain't right." It was almost a silent night on that holy, holy night. But the holes were in the bellows, you can blame my appetite. It was almost a silent night. I was feeling kinda guilty as I listened from afar. Then the schoolmaster stepped up with a battered old guitar. He strummed his bony fingers and he played a chord. And the preacher raised his hands and he said, "Thank the Lord." 'Cause it was almost a silent night, almost a silent night. That music box was busted with tiny little bites. When the preacher pumped the pedals, he said, "This ain't right." It was almost a silent night on that holy, holy night. But the holes were in the bellows, you can blame my appetite. It was almost a silent night. I looked at that guitar as it lay across his knees. The back was brown as bread, but the front was white as cheese. And it was almost a silent night, almost snow dancing, and imagine, if you will, a long tradition where people would hope that the winter would come and bring with it what it's supposed to bring with it, snow, in the northern hemisphere certainly, and so they would have little ceremonies and stuff that they would do to bring this to pass, just to make sure that the seasons will go around as they're supposed to go around. And let's face it, it's something that maybe we should all be doing in the present situation in the world with global warming and everything else. Anyway, this is a little song really about the children just dancing around, hoping that they're going to be able to enjoy the snow and everything that they do in parts of the world where, like in the UK, where snow is still a magical thing for us. Snow dancing. The children are snow dancing in the pale winter light, hoping that their dirty streets will soon be wrapped in white. Then their rolling throne goes sliding from morning till night, and nothing else will matter but the snow, 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 snow dancing, snow dancing. Winter, won't you weave your spell on the world? But the skies are wet and weary, still they dance and they dream, and do-si-do like Eskimos with moves like Jagger and Jean. As autumn waits for winter, it washes the skies cold and clean. But what good is winter without snow, 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 snow dancing, snow dancing. Winter, won't you weave your spell on the world? So come with me snow dancing until it lies deep. We're old and cold and not so bold as once we claimed to be, but there's still time for risks and chances until we must sleep. So wrap your arms around me in the snow, 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 snow dancing, snow dancing. Winter, won't you weave your spell on the world? Snow dancing, snow dancing. Winter, won't you weave your spell on the world? Winter, won't you weave your spell on the world?
The Attention Seekers is the project of Alan Fish, also from the northeast of England. Alan is a great fan of Lindisfarne, a legendary band from that part of England. In last year's webcast, he shared his version of Lindisfarne's Winter Song. He has recorded that song once again, this time with vocals by Sam Blewitt and Jesse Terry.
Shadowy fingers first pursue you down the street, and your boots no longer lie about the cold around your feet. Do you spare a thought for summer, whose passage is complete, whose memories lie in ruins, and whose ruins lie in heat? When winter time instead, when winter comes howling in, creeping cold as fingers that caress without permission, and mystic crystal snowdrops only condition. Do you spare a thought for the traveler with no secure position, who's turned and spurned by village and town at the magistrate's decision? When winter comes howling in, Christmas presents are bought, and Santa's in his module, he's an American astronaut. Do you spare one thought for Jesus, who had nothing but his thoughts, who got busted just for talking and befriending the wrong sorts? When winter
Jesse Terry has had a very busy 2021, releasing When We Wander, an album of original songs, along with a double covers album of classic songs from the 1930s to the 1970s. Additionally, he has given us an album of 20 songs for the holiday season titled Peace. The songs include both his version of traditional songs as well as a number of lesser-known ones from some of his favorite seasonal albums. Here is Jesse with 2 songs from Peace.
Hey, this is Jesse Terry. I'm going to play a couple songs off my recent holiday album called Peace. And this album came about, a couple of my fans approached me during the lockdown in 2020, and they said they offered to fund this Christmas album, and I was thrilled. I've always wanted to do this, so I went out and bought recording equipment and learned how to use it somehow, and I sat right here in my living room in my apartment and made this double album, and somehow didn't get kicked out of my apartment. And but it was a really special thing to record these beautiful songs and during such a dark and fearful time. I'll always be grateful for that and always remember that. These songs mean a lot to me. And this is one of my favorite carols that's on the album, written in the 1800s.
Oh, little town of Bethlehem, how still we see thee lie. Above thy deep and dreamless sleep, the silent stars go by. Yet in thy dark streets shineth the everlasting light. The hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight. For Christ is born of Mary and gathered all above. While mortals sleep, the angels keep their watch of wondering love. O morning stars together proclaim thy holy birth, and praises sing to God the King, and peace to men on earth. O holy child of Bethlehem, descend to us, we pray. Cast out our sin and enter in. Be born to us today. We hear the Christmas angels the great glad tidings tell. Oh, come to us, abide with us, our Lord Emmanuel. Oh, come to us, abide with us, our Lord Emmanuel.
So before I recorded all these old classic songs, I loved looking up the stories. And Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas was wonderful to me. I loved that it was written for Judy Garland in her movie Meet Me in St. Louis. And when she heard the first draft, she said, "This is dreadfully sad. There's no way I can sing this, but maybe rewrite it and I'll give it another listen." So they did, thank heavens, and that's the version that we have now. But she wanted something more uplifting, so that when she was crying through her tears in that scene, it was even more emotional. I just love that. And there's a line in this song, there's different ways people have sung it over the years, and through the years we all will be together, or it could be in a year we all will be together, and I consciously chose in a year we all will be together as a wishful thinking, really. So hope you like this. Hope you have a beautiful holiday season. Christmas futures far away. Christmas past is past. Christmas present is here today, bringing joy that may last. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. May your heart be light. From now on, our troubles will be out of sight. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Make the Yuletide gay. In a year, our troubles will be miles away. And here we are, as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Faithful friends who are dear to us, gather near to us once more. In a year we all will be together, if the fates allow. Until then, we'll just have to muddle through somehow. So have yourself a merry little Christmas now. Once again, as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Faithful friends who are dear to us, gather near to us once more. Years we all will be together, if the fates allow. Hang a shining star upon the highest bough, and have yourself a merry little Christmas now. First time through the A section in a year, and second time through the years we all will be together. I like that. All right, have a beautiful Merry Christmas. Much love out there.
Ray Lambiase is a Long Island-based singer-songwriter who has just released his 5th album of original songs, The Road Ahead. On his previous album, Kid Bayonne, Ray included an original Christmas-themed song, The Christmas Train, which he shares with us in this webcast, along with a new seasonal song he has written, Papa Noel.
In Ireland, their prison system has a compassionate provision that allows certain low-risk, nonviolent inmates to take a train home to see their families at Christmas and return on their own a few days later. This is the story of one man's round trip on the Christmas train.
1, 2, 3. I'm waiting for the Christmas train and dreaming of the house where I was raised, with holly on the door and presents on the floor. I'm waiting for the Christmas train. I'm getting on the Christmas train, hoping my hometown still looks the same. A candle burning bright awaits for me tonight. I'm getting on the Christmas train. Friends and family gather round, if for a few short days. My sister's sure to cry when we part ways. And thrown back in your cell, you'll know how far you fell if you've been on the Christmas train. I'm getting off the Christmas train, and they'll be waiting there to take my name and walk me down the halls back to the cold gray walls. I'm getting off the Christmas train. Friends and family gather round, if for a few short days. My mother's sure to cry when we part ways. And thrown back in your cell, you'll know how far you fell if you've been on the Christmas train. And thrown back in your cell, you'll know how far you fell if you've been on the Christmas train.
In the Cajun parts of Louisiana, they see Santa Claus a little differently. For example, he's known as Papa Noel and flies across the sky in a small boat led by 8 alligators. Here's a look at how they celebrate Christmas on the bayou.
Hello. Papa Noel, when you go to Storyville, tell my baby what you will, make her see. Papa Noel, when you head down Bourbon Street, sweep her right up off her feet and bring her back to me. Well, it was just last Christmas Eve, she packed all her things to leave, left me standing in the rain, headed for Lake Pontchartrain. As you shot across the sky, she was waving me goodbye. Adieu, Papa Noel. When you go to Storyville, tell my baby what you will, but make her see. Papa Noel, when you head down Bourbon Street, sweep her right up off her feet and bring her back to me. Well, there must be room in your skiff to give my little one a lift. You just have to help her get from New Orleans to Lafayette. Tell the gators they can rest when they cross over Bayou Teche. Lâche pas la bateau, Papa Noel. When you go to Storyville, tell my baby what you will, but make her see. Papa Noel, when you head down Bourbon Street, sweep her right up off her feet and bring her back to me. That's right. Cooking for the Revenant, and I'll put out anything you want. Etouffee, a blue crab bisque, anything that's on your list. High above the bonfire soar, down below the fiddles roar. Fay-do-do, Papa Noel. When you go to Storyville, tell my baby what you will, make her see. Papa Noel, when you head down Bourbon Street, sweep her right up off her feet and bring her back to me. Papa Noel.
Sloan Wainwright has been a mainstay of our Sunday Street series during our 15 years of shows and was part of our Songs for Wintertide webcast last December. Her most recent album, Red Maple Tree, appeared earlier this year. In 2005, Sloan released On a Night Before Christmas, a live recording of her annual holiday show. Here's Sloan with her longtime accompanist Stephen Murphy with 2 songs from that album.
Hey everybody, I'm Sloan Wainwright, and this here is Steve Murphy. How you doing today?
Doing good.
Good, good. We are so happy to be here and be part of Wintertide II 2021, and Steve and I thought that we would do a couple of songs that investigate the energy around longing when it comes to this amazing holiday season. So we're going to start with Blue Christmas. I'll have a blue Christmas without you. I'll be so blue just thinking about you. Decorations of red on a green Christmas tree won't be the same, dear, if you're not here with me. And when those blue snowflakes start falling, that's when those blue memories start calling. You'll be doing alright with your Christmas of white, but I'll have a blue, 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 blue Christmas. But I'll have a blue, 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 blue Christmas. So blue.
Hello again.
Hi. We're going to do 2,000 miles. It's gone 2,000 miles. It's very far. The snow is falling down. Gets colder day by day. I miss you. The children will sing. He'll be back at Christmas time.
far through the snow, I think of you wherever you go. He's gone 2,000 miles. He's very far. The snow is falling down, gets colder day by day. I miss you. I can hear people singing, it must be Christmas time. I can hear people sing, it must be Christmas time.
Happy holidays, everybody.
For many years, Ellis Paul played an annual show in our Sunday Street series during the holiday season. We hope to have Ellis return in 2022 for a live show, but in the meantime, he has recorded 2 songs for us that initially appeared on his 2012 seasonal album, City of Silver Dreams. Ellis also presents regular webcasts on most Sunday and Friday evenings. Check his website for details. Here's Ellis Paul.
Hello, everyone on Long Island. This is Ellis Paul. I want to thank Mr. Charles Backfish for having me on the show here. And happy holidays. I'm going to play you a song here. It's written for Mary, so it's a Christmas song. And it's about motherhood, really. I think that's the universal thing in it. I mean, obviously, she's the mother of the son of God to a lot of people, so there's things beyond just the motherhood thing going on here. But I felt like she deserved just a little more Christmas love. So this is called Mary, Mary. Mary, Mary, oh, the night came soon. You carried a baby across the sea dunes, born to a mad world. Weren't you once a young girl? How many days were gone? Star child, eyes wild, laying at your breast, that fabled stable nights without rest. Mystics, magi, wise men, a king, a child, a god send. How many days have gone? Mother, please close your eyes when you think of me. All children leave, only angels know our destinies, our destinies. Christmas came by you, by your motherhood, the pain, the good. The angels sing hallelujah, born to a mad world. Weren't you once a young girl? How many days have gone? How many days have gone? Thank you. Hello, everyone. This is Ellis Paul. I'm here to do a song about Texas. This is a Christmas song. It takes place during a snowstorm in the city of Austin. It's called Snow in Austin. I woke up to frost on the windows. I've been sleeping in a snow globe town. 6 inches on the ground. You said I'd never see white Christmas. Snow angels never make it to Texas, but you're wrong. They're singing Hank Williams songs. Oh, if snow can fall in Austin, why can't you fall here in my arms? And so you say your home is Boston. Hey, what's New England got on all these Texas charms? Tumbleweeds, they dance on the ground. Armadillos, upside down. Have you ever seen a cactus Christmas tree? Come home to me. Come on home. There's a snowman standing out on 6th Street with a hat, a scarf, and a broom guitar. Well, they're hanging mistletoe up in the bars. Do you remember that night at Las Manitas? Our heads were numb from frozen margaritas. Imagine how cold we would be now if snow can fall in Austin. Why can't you fall here in my arms? And so you say your home is Boston. Hey, what's New England got on all these Texas charms? Tumbleweeds, they dance on the ground. Armadillos, well, they're upside down. Have you ever seen a cactus Christmas tree? Come home to me. Whoa, come on home. The snow's coming down. It's Christmas in this town.
We have several more performances to share, but I'd like to encourage you to consider supporting these artists by purchasing their music and other merchandise or making a donation. We've included contact information after each performance. Lynn Miles from Canada is well known to Sunday Street listeners and has also played our series in past years. Songs with a holiday season theme are part of Lynn's catalog. In years past, she's presented a show centered on a winter theme and recorded an album with several of those songs. For this webcast, Lynn shares a yet-to-be-recorded song, Lucky Girl, and the title track of her most recent album, We'll Look for Stars.
It's winter now. It's early December, the streets are still waiting for the storm. I'm a lucky girl, I always try to remember, 'cause when it's dark and cold, I'm safe and warm. Life is hard. Life can be bitter like the frozen wind. It's blowing hard tonight, no one knows. It's on the road ahead, all we can do is try to hold the light. My window panes are white and pretty. Frost has left its winter lace. Snow drifts down and it covers the city. Makes it feel like it's a kinder place. There's a Christmas meal down at the mission, and everyone gets their fair share today. Happens once a year. It's a noble tradition in a better world. It would happen every day. Silver moon in midnight blue, shining down on who we are. I don't know why I have the life I do, but I thank my lucky stars, 'cause it's winter now. It's early December, the streets are still waiting for the storm. I'm a lucky girl, I always try to remember, 'cause when it's dark and cold, I'm safe and just like the moon. And in the end will come too soon. The stories we keep in our souls are wild and true and sad and gold. Our songs will rise and fall and change their tunes. We will move just like the wind and tide. Our little boat will rock from side to side. Regrets will make their presence known and make us feel so all alone, and leave us with no place to put our pride. So the only thing that I can do is try not to fall apart on you, and hold on to your heart with all my might. We'll stop before we go too far, and when it's dark we'll look for stars to guide us home and get us through the night. And what will be, that's all I know. We're at the mercy of the undertow. Time will leave a scar for sure. Love will fade, there is no cure. And every blue will change to indigo. So the only thing that I can do is try not to fall apart on you, and hold on to your heart with all my might. We'll stop before we go too far, and when it's dark we'll look for stars to guide us home and get us through the night. And we will win, then lose, then lose, then win. Cover up, then slowly shed our skin. Arm our hearts, then drop our guard. All of this will be so hard. We think we're made of steel, we're made of tin. So the only thing that I can do is try not to fall apart on you, and hold on to your heart with all my might. We'll stop before we go too far, and when it's dark we'll look for stars to guide us home and get us through the night. We'll stop before we go too far, and when it's dark we'll look for stars to guide us home and get us through the night.
The Kennedys, as I've often said, are the heart and soul of the Sunday Street series. They played the very first show in our series and are a part of our annual Bob Dylan birthday celebrations, along with the yearly Kennedys show. Since the pandemic began, they have presented a weekly Sunday afternoon webcast on their Facebook page and YouTube channel. Here are Maura and Pete Kennedy.
Hi, we're the Kennedys, wishing all the WUSB audience and Charlie Backfish a very happy holiday season.
We're going to do a holiday surf song. There aren't very many of those, but this one is our favorite.
1, 2, 3, 4.
My folks moved to New York from California. You should have listened when my buddy said, I warn ya, there'll be no surfing there, and no one even cares. My buddy's outside, covered with snow now. New York's a lonely town when you're the only surfer girl around. From Central Park to Pasadena, such a long way. I feel so out of it walking down Broadway. I feel so bad each time I look out there and find my Woody's outside, covered with snow now. New York's a lonely town when you're the only surfer girl around. I feel so bad each time I look out there and find my Woody's outside, covered with snow now. New York's a lonely town when you're the only surfer girl around.
Such a sad little surfer song.
Yeah, it's like an answer to all the Beach Boys California songs, because it's written
Yeah.
by a New York guy, Vinnie Ponzia, and it's like his answer to the California surf.
And now we're going to do my absolute all-time favorite holiday song, Marshmallow World. 1, 2, 3.
It's a marshmallow world in the winter when the snow comes to cover the ground. It's a time for play, it's a whipped cream day. I wait for it all year round. Those are marshmallow clouds being friendly in the arms of the evergreen tree. And the sun is red like a pumpkin's head. It's shining so your nose won't freeze. The world is your snowball, see how it goes. That's how it grows whenever it snows. The world is your snowball just for a song. Get out and roll it along. It's a yummy world made for sweethearts. Take a walk with your favorite girl. It's a sugar day, but if spring is late, winter it's a marshmallow world. Woo! The world is your snowball, see how it goes. That's how it grows whenever it snows. The world is your snowball just for a song. Get out and roll it along. It's a yummy world made for sweethearts. Take a walk with your favorite girl. It's a sugar day, but if spring is late, winter it's a marshmallow world. Winter it's a marshmallow world. And winter it's a marshmallow world.
holidays, everybody.
From the Kennedys.
We got to know Craig Werth, who's originally from Long Island, when he was touring as David Francey's guitarist in a show in the Sunday Street series several years ago. In addition to being an accomplished guitarist, Craig is also a most talented songwriter and has written several powerful songs for the holiday season. I've asked Craig to not only share two of these songs, but also tell us the story behind them.
I want to start out by thanking WUSB Sunday Street, in particular my great friend and supporter, Charlie Backfish, who supported me for so long. And thanks for that, Charlie, and thanks for the invitation. Thank you also to the Long Island Museum for collaborating on this wonderful offering. I'm really proud to be a part of it. The first song I picked out is one that I wrote in response to an invitation from Christine Lavin to be part of a seasonal sampler, Just One Angels 2.0. And I instantly said yes when I was invited, and then I wrestled with what the heck am I going to contribute, and I wanted to have a new piece, and I was stuck for a while. And then one night I was awake at 3 a.m. and sat with my banjo and started to get pretty sentimental about people I was missing around the holiday season, and just, you know, that reflection time of my life. And I came up with this song that in the wee hours that night. And if I may, I just want to quickly introduce some of the elements of the song. It's a song that centers around ornaments or artifacts of our lives, the things that we collect that hold memory for us. And this song is a fictional story, but it's full of truth, as we songwriters often do. So, but some of the pieces in it that are referenced are the starring pieces, this ornament that my grandmother Winifred had on her tree when I was a little boy, and but my understanding is she brought it from Newfoundland, and I'm not sure about that, but it's a very fragile glass ornament. It was old when I was a boy, and the color has fallen off of it. It's pink and silver dust kind of settling in the bottom of it. It's very special to me. I've been afraid of breaking it while making this video. Another ornament is mentioned is a cracked ceramic owl. My mother's favorite bird is in the song, and it's actually my mother-in-law's favorite bird. It was Aline Westover, just very, very dear to me. And we remember her with this piece. A tiny ruddy rowboat carved from a peach's stone. Well, it really is one. It's a little rowboat that my dad carved from a peach pit. One of his many expressions in the world. And there's a 4-inch 5-string banjo made with a bottle cap. That's just an ornament I dreamed up, but I made one from the inspiration of this song. Just a little banjo made from a bottle cap. And last of the ones I'll share with you is there's an origami figure folded by young hands. The day her grandpa showed her and told her, "Yes, you can." Well, this is that shape that my grandfather Henry showed me when I was about 7 years old. And we have a bunch of these on our Christmas tree each year. So anyway, real true inspiration, true things in the song, and it's about how I know other people see themselves and their history in it, whether or not they celebrate Christmas, these things that we store our memory in and our legacy in. Well, here's these ornaments. Nested up in paper, a ball of see-through glass, the color flaked and settled, some distant Christmas past. Carried from the homeland, its hook now rough with rust, suspends the ancient memories in pink and silver dust. There's a 4-inch 5-string banjo made with a bottle cap, a choir of clothespin angels robed in satin wrap. There's an origami figure folded by young hands, the day her grandpa showed her and told her, yes, you can. Who'll keep these ornaments and love them as I do? Who'll tell their stories from when the old was new? Who will hold these treasures, this box of jewels and toys, and spirits of the long-lost folks who once were girls and boys? There's a tiny ruddy rowboat carved from a peach's stone. It's one my father made me one night he was alone. There's a cracked ceramic owl, my mother's favorite bird, the one at night she'd listen for, the last one that she heard. Who'll keep these ornaments and love them as I do? Who'll tell their stories from when the old was new? Who'll hold these treasures, this box of jewels and toys, and spirits of the long-lost folks who once were girls and boys? I have been the keeper of all these Christmas gems. I've memorized the history for each and every one of them. I wrote it in this letter for someone good to find. And now that you are reading this, would you be so kind? Please keep these ornaments and love them as I did. Tell their stories and teach them to the kids. Hold up these treasures, this box of jewels and toys, and spirits of we long lost folks who once were girls and boys. Second song I'd like to play for you is also a heritage-related song, and this one inspired a bit by my family story. My maternal parents immigrated to the United States from Newfoundland and settled in New York, and for most of their time on the south shore of Long Island, New York. So Long Island is near and dear to me. It's where I grew up into my teens before I went off to college. And lots of fond memories. We were based in the Islip area and Sayville and my family in North Lindenhurst. So there's that connection. The song is some about my family, but also in recognition of all the families who have been forced to leave their homelands, thousands and thousands of families. There are many in parts of Canada who felt they had to move away to find a way to sustain, and often moving out west. And as I sang this song across parts of Canada, there would be multiple people would come up to me after the show and tell me that their family story is in this song. This is called The Lights of St. John's. St. John's, Newfoundland, is where my grandmother was born. One Christmas morning my father came home, bearing no gifts but his skin and his bones. My work here is over, he said through his hands. This family is leaving our dear Newfoundland. We'd moved to Alberta to relatives there. He'd work for a cousin, the money was fair. One day we might manage to bring ourselves home. I swore I'd return if I came back alone. And I'd walk to the top of old Signal Hill. I can picture the view and I always will. My hunger for hollow possessions is gone. I want for Christmas the lights of St. John's. The eve of the new year we tore away west. Fearing the worst, we abandoned the best. Our journey was over in 5 setting suns. My plans to return had already begun. Wave after wave of Decembers rolled by. Year after year in the blink of an eye, I had charted my course, my promise to keep. Over and over to home in my sleep. I'd walk to the top of old Signal Hill. I can picture the view and I always will. My hunger for hollow possessions is gone. I want for Christmas the lights of St. John's. I trust you'll believe my pledge it was true, but sometimes we say things we never can do. People grow older, hard lessons get learned, anchors are set, bridges are burned. I live out in Westlock with my family. Today we selected a grand Christmas tree. We'll be wrapping up presents, preparing a feast. I'll gaze out the window, my eyes to the east. I'd walk to the top of old Signal Hill. I can picture the view and I always will. My hunger for hollow possessions is gone. I want for Christmas the lights of St. John's. I want for Christmas the lights of St. John. That one gets my heart rate up a bit for a few reasons. Thanks so much for your kind attention. Thanks again to WUSB, Sunday Street, Charlie, Long Island Museum. Really appreciate it.
Daryl Purpose played the Sunday Street series in April 2013 and has been my guest for an in-studio visit to the Sunday Street program on WUSB. Daryl now lives in Colorado and is presenting a weekly webcast on Thursday evenings. There's information about it on his website. Daryl released The Gift of the Magi, a seasonal album, in 2002, and plays 2 songs from it to end our webcast.
Thank you, Charlie. It's nice to be included. This is called You Must Go Home for Christmas. By the time that I'd hit Barstow, I'd quit drinking. The silent night was cold, the lights were blinking. I slept under a public Christmas tree. I woke up feeling stiff, saw my life was a gift given exclusively to me. Going home for Christmas, thinking that I should go and see the family. Hope it's understood that when you wander far away from your old neighborhood, you must go home for Christmas. You must go home for Christmas. You must go home for good. Now I met 3 men about half a mile from Vegas. Said this town was no place to spend Christmas. They offered me a ride in their old car. Said the answer that you seek lies somewhere in the east. So I followed that rising morning star. Going home for Christmas, thinking that I should go and see the family. Hope it's understood that when you wander far away from your old neighborhood, you must go home for Christmas. You must go home for Christmas. You must go home for good. By the time I made Missouri, I decided to reunite the family I divided. To try to find some peace here on this earth. Return to the city of my nativity. Foster some goodwill for what it's worth. Now in Bethlehem, PA, I shaved and showered. Called to say I'd be home in 3 hours. Well, it sounded like the phone line had gone dead. But before I hung up, the other end spoke up. And tearfully I listened as she said, please come home for Christmas. Please come home for good. Come and see the family. 'Cause now it's understood that when you wander far away from your old neighborhood, you must go home for Christmas. You must go home for Christmas. You must go home for good. And when you wander far away from your old neighborhood, go home for Christmas. Please come home for Christmas. You must go home for good. So this goes out to the honor of the guy I call the greatest American. That would be Pete Seeger. And it's a song for all seasons, and maybe especially this one. Time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, time to reap, time to kill, time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep. To everything, there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. Time to build up, time to break down, time to dance, time to mourn, a time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. To everything, and a time to every purpose under heaven. Time of love, a time of hate, time of war, a time of peace, a time that you may embrace, a time to refrain from embraces. To everything, and a time to every purpose under heaven. Time to gain, a time to lose, a time to run, time to sow, a time for love, a time for hate, a time for peace. I swear it's not too late.
Many thanks to all of the musicians who participated in this evening's webcast. Again, we ask that you support their work during these difficult times by visiting their websites, purchasing CDs and other merchandise, and consider making a donation to them. Very special thanks to Emma Backfish for her technical work on this webcast, and to Samantha O'Rourke for her work on the graphics. And thanks to you for watching. We hope you'll return for our next webcast. Best wishes for the holiday season.